welcome, guys. I know this is a completely random kind of night. Usually, we don't do private label talks. You guys always see me doing OA kind of stuff. And tonight's going to be fun because I have been sitting here learning about – I'm constantly learning. I was just sitting here talking with Andy about a book I'm listening to. We'll probably get into that later. And as I keep going through things, I find that if I can get a grasp on what is currently happening in the market, I'm able to understand the process. And when you understand the process, you can find how to take an advantage of certain situations. So tonight what I want to do is have Andy on here, and instead of going over here's what private label is, we're actually going to go into some of the actual discussion and a kind of analysis of certain things that are currently happening, kind of diving into some examples, not like here's how you find your product, but kind of the entire overall business and how it's changing and how it's evolving and how we could take advantage of that using the private label market. So I don't know if Andy wants to do an introduction. I know most of you know Andy here, but if anyone doesn't, Chris Wilkie here from FBA Master, and the co-host, actually I'll give him the host title. I'm just the interviewee or interviewer tonight, is Andy Slamans. So Andy, I'll give it over to you.
All right, sure. Hey, so thanks. Welcome everyone. Hopefully we have some great information for you today. Just real quick housekeeping. If you have any questions, there's a Q&A box. If you want to put your questions in that Q&A box there, that way they don't get scrolled through. The chat is there as well. So I just want to say shout out to some of the folks in the chat. We got Alan, Allison, Amy, Cassie, Cece, Chris, Cindy, David. Oh, wow. It's in alphabetical order. Eric, Heather, we got Holly, James, Jeff, and a bunch more. So welcome. Hey, real quick in the chat, if you just want to put what state or what country you are in, that would be phenomenal. So we can just
Steve from Savannah, Georgia, Chris Anderson from Austin, Texas, James in Maryland from Michigan. You guys should probably hook up. Tom's from Michigan as well. Oh, Nathan. How's Nathan in the new, is it Isabella? Is that the name of the new kid?
It is, yes.
Nathan, how's she going? I heard that little newborns cry a lot. That's what I've learned thus far. Sleeping like a baby. Well, I'm not sure if that's good or bad. We're from North Carolina and, Traverse City, nice. I know the people that run one of the baseball teams, the Beach Bums, up in Traverse City. One of my good friends here in Indianapolis. Anyway, so Andy, what gives you the credibility for me to be even talking with you tonight? Because I know what you're good at, but give some people a little background on yourself.
Sure. So I've been selling on Amazon for about 3 years. For the first year, I did what a lot of people do when they first start selling on Amazon. I sold all the crap around my house. Yep. You did that. I went through my bookshelves. I went through my old college textbooks, anything I could find my hands, anything that wasn't nailed down, I pretty much shipped into Amazon. And in fact, I probably still have a lot of product in Amazon from when I first started. So that's how I started. Did that for a year. Scaled it up pretty quickly. I was doing it part-time, working a full-time job. And I think I did that first year about 120,000, doing really part-time hours. And then the business started to kind of grow leaps and bounds, like month 13, month 14. And my wife and I had to make a decision. Either I had to scale down because it was, taking too much time away from our full-time job, or we were going to transition. We had been in our previous career for 15 years. So we decided to transition, kind of go all in on Amazon. Right around that time is when I got into private labeling. So I had a really close friend that showed me how to use Alibaba. I had heard about Alibaba, but I didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Because everyone that, you hear those like these fear stories of people being scammed, sending money and then never seeing it again. But she was able to walk me through some of the steps. And so I got into it. And man, for me, it was like golden because I could send in like 500 products at a time and then just watch them sell. and so it was a real time saver for me. I don't really love shopping. I know there are a lot of people that like doing a retail arbitrage. They enjoy the shopping experience. I don't really like hanging out in Walmart, that much. And so,
very nice.
So finding a different business model that was kind of less time intensive in that way was really appealing to me.
Awesome. So, and like I said, we don't want to go into the exact ins and outs of private label, but I want to start with a topic that I've been seeing in the news a lot lately, and I've kind of seen in the Facebook groups as discussions, and I want your take on it, doing the private label side. I hear, Amazon's been hopping on with their basic brands. The Amazon Basic. I mean, you could get those like wipes, or you could get diapers or things like that. Where does this fall into in the whole private label scheme of things? I mean, I go to a Walmart and I know that I can get great value flour, or if you really want some really random stuff, you get great value vodka, which, Lord Jesus, that sounds horrible altogether. But where does the Amazon generic brands fall into the whole kind of portfolio of what you do as private label, what other people do as private label? Is it going to harm it? Is it going to help it? Where does that all fall?
Yeah, it's interesting because Amazon is definitely growing their brand. I think it initially started out like in the electronics category. They were doing like, cords that would work for iPhones or for your electronic gadgets. And now they've expanded, basically. They're almost in every category now, which is genius of them, because what they want to be able to do is sell product right at a very low cost, because they want a great customer experience. And so they want to cut out the middleman. And so, with their Amazon Basic brands, they're going direct to the manufacturer. And, what's his famous line? Your margin is my opportunity. I think that's what Bezos says. And so, they really, I'm sure, they want to be able to brand every single product that they possibly can at the best possible margin they can.
Now, a question on that, Andy.
Sure.
Where does it come to a point that, like, you and I, there's got to be a capacity issue. Amazon's they're not a store. They're not a manufacturer, I guess is where I'm getting at here.
Right.
They would want their name on everything. But where at a point does that make it so that it is not an economic advantage for them to do that? Is there a point to where they go, okay, because I mean, I go in a Walmart, not everything in that Walmart's generic.
Right.
I mean, not everything's a Walmart brand, and Walmart's been around 3 times as long as Amazon.
Right.
Does that play into it at all?
Well, so remember now, Bezos, his whole vision is that he wants Amazon to be the everything store. So he wants every possible product on there, right?
Yeah.
And I would imagine, as they continue to grow, they want to be able to have as many Amazon Basic products as they possibly can. Now, the reason why, I think we're even talking about this is this. As Amazon sellers, I think, and this is why I believe in private label, what you and I should be doing is looking at what Amazon is doing. And so, a lot of people are like afraid. They're like, oh man, Amazon Basic is going to take over the world. Well, like you said, there is a capacity, and it's going to take a long time for them to move across all the product lines. I mean, we're talking maybe 100 years? There's just, they cannot keep up right now. Here's a true story. So I have a friend. He is a $7 million seller, all wholesale. He met some Amazon buyers at the ASD show. You may know him. His name is Eddie. He took him out for lunch, and I said, hey, look, because he actually sells his products to Amazon. So, he goes to a distributor, or he goes to a manufacturer, gets the products, and then he sells them to Amazon. So he took these guys out to lunch. He said, hey, I want to do business with you. Well, he's in Chicago. He has Amazon buyers calling him and asking him to source products for them.
Whoa.
So they don't have the manpower. They have product ideas, but they don't have the manpower to connect with these manufacturers or these distributors. Whereas Eddie, maybe he's more of a people person or a salesman or whatever, he can. So now they're coming to him. And so that's probably where the log jam is. And how long does that take? I don't know. But again, you can see every day they probably add a new product underneath the Amazon brand. But
Okay.
again, genius, and this is what, as a private labeler, this is what I do. I do the same thing they do. They go direct to the manufacturer. That's my goal. My goal is to go direct to the manufacturer to get the best possible price I can.
Okay, so then my next question is that I know when I go into like a Walmart, I'll use that as my example all night. My wife is notorious for this. We won't sometimes buy a Walmart brand due to quality issues.
Right.
Do you see anything where, as somebody that doesn't have to hit price points as a private label seller, that you can provide higher quality products that are kind of that next tier compared to what Amazon can provide at that low price point?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you and I were just talking about that before the show, like with the drug dealers, they have an HR problem. Well, yeah. I don't know. When I was growing up, there was a store. It's still around, Aldi. And
we have one just around the corner.
Yeah, and they used to have, it was basically like an Aldi generic brand. So my mom, my mom and dad were pretty frugal. They would never buy the real Doritos. They would get the Aldi brand Doritos, and they would come in this like all white bag with just like black lettering, right, as a generic bag.
Yep.
And maybe they tasted the same, I don't know, but my brothers and I swore, because they were from that generic brand bag, that they tasted awful.
Yeah, I mean, that's what marketing is. I mean, the markup when you buy a bag of Doritos, the majority of that's going to be your marketing and advertising and commercials.
Right.
It's the perception that's portrayed. And that's why I was just curious, is that Amazon's not going to go out of their way to make sure the packaging is, I mean, they're not going to do pink poly bags, poly mailers for their items to match the items. They're going to do whatever is most cost efficient and gives the best customer experience in the cheapest fashion.
Yep.
So I just wondered where private label sellers fall in that mix.
Yeah, absolutely. And it depends on the product, Maybe there are some products where that kind of cheap, like if I'm buying an iPhone cord, generic one, I really don't care the packaging that it comes in.
Oh, no.
Whereas if I'm buying something more higher end, premium package, especially and here's where it really comes in, if you're giving something as a gift, to somebody else, you would like to have that premium package. But you're right. That's where we have the advantage. And especially if we are specialized in a certain niche and we know that niche, that we can have that kind of advantage over other private label sellers, and especially over Amazon. That's this big organization like Walmart, with their great value brand.
Yeah, and I mean, that kind of goes with the gift side of it. It's kind of what I was trying to touch on, is there are some products that I don't care. Salt. It doesn't make a difference if it's in a white thing that says salt or if it's in a Morton's blue container. It's salt.
Right.
But at the same time, my wife will not buy Great Value Cool Whip. There's a psychological thing there that stuff tastes bad and
right.
Cool Whip tastes good.
Right.
Yeah. I assume that I've been noticing things that you've been selling in kind of your discussions. You're moving to a higher price point.
Right.
You're starting to move up the scale, and you're not at those $20 to $30 items. You're more at the $50 to $150 items. I think you're starting to, as a guest, I have a feeling you're going to start seeing a shift of private label sellers being more higher priced, bringing a little bit more quality, not quantity, to the market.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, one of my favorite products right now, there's like 3 variations. One sells for $120, another one sells for $135, and another one sells for $189. And we worked. I partner on this product with another seller, and we worked really hard. We believe that this is a product that we can eventually get into stores, as well as there's a lot of opportunities to build out variations of it, to bundle it, and then to build accessories with it. So now here's the thing. Now it took me, so I've been doing this for 2.5 years, right? And I actually have some really good products. I have one that I have about 17 SKUs on. I've trademarked the brand name, and it's really to a specific niche. It's a great seller, but I didn't really have a passion for it. This product I have a passion for. I believe in it. I think that we can really build a brand and then eventually sell it one day. And that's the goal. Now, again, it took me 2.5 years, and it took a partner who's a genius in this area, to really discover this type of product. But yeah, so, what's great about Amazon, so we're building awareness, right? Brand awareness on Amazon. Our next goal is we're going to build a website, and then we'd like to approach retail stores, and the next thing, be on Shark Tank.
Shark Tank, that may be a slight jump. I would love to see you on Shark Tank,
but here's the crazy part. And maybe you help me on this. People will go on Shark Tank, and they only have like $20,000 or $25,000 in sales, right?
Yeah.
We'll easily, within the first 4 months of this product, we'll easily have over $125,000 in sales. That's just like in 4 months,
It's amazing because yeah, we can go on the whole Shark Tank discussion, but that would be kind of fascinating. Now, the one thing that I caught from that I know is kind of switching gears slightly, but you mentioned partnerships. And that's something that I think we have 81 people here with us right now. I think that's something we need to talk about because a lot of people think they've got to do everything on their own. And I know just from talking with you, you probably have 2, 3, 4 partnerships, maybe more. I may be underestimating that. 5. Could you explain how, not like what you guys exactly sell, but how those all work and what that kind of dynamic is?
Yeah, so for private labeling, I say all the time, partner. Now, the key is you want to be careful who you create an allegiance with.
Yeah.
But so I have 5 partners, 5 different products, and basically what we do is we split the costs, right, half, and then we share the buy box. And so when I have the product shipped, my partner, he'll get half of the product and send them into his account. And then I get half of the product and I'll send them into my account. And the reason why we do that is it spreads the risk. And so if it's a $10,000 buy and I'm doing that myself, and it's a new product, that's a lot of money that I have to float, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm willing to partner with somebody, we split those costs as well as we split some of the administrative stuff. It's a little more digestible to do it that way. And what I found is with each of these partners, like they have great ideas. So it's interesting with this new product. It was a brand new seller. It was his idea. He had never sold on Amazon, so I'm helping him. I taught him how to sell, but his account actually got throttled. And so when you're a brand new seller and your product starts selling like bananas, Amazon will throttle your account.
Well, yeah.
And so if we had not partnered, and it's been a month. And so he's been emailing and emailing. In fact, he's just about to send an email to Bezos. He's going to, pull. But had he not partnered with me, that his product would have been sitting there for a month with no sales. So there's some real advantages, to partnering in that kind of way too. And he sees things sometimes that I don't see, and then I see things sometimes that he doesn't see. And so for me, with the 5 partners I have, it's worked out great.
So Jeff P. here wants to know, how do you structure these partnerships, like in a business form or contractually? How does that work?
Yeah, so Jeff, this is something that probably not everybody can do. And I have no written contract. There is no terms, no structures. It's all basically a gentleman's handshake. And again, understand, like when the product lands, I get half of the product and then my partner gets half of the product. And so all the money that we've invested into the product, I own half, he owns half. And so in that sense, there's not a lot of risk. Hopefully that helps.
Okay. And then just a few things I'm looking at here. James Arzo says, never buy meat from Aldi's. It's mystery meat. So we have that. We have a more technical question. I think that'll be better for a little bit later. James, we'll get to that if we have extra time. I saw this in a Facebook group earlier. We'll go back to partnerships here in a second. Do you have any insight on the UPC policies for PL, Andy? Dirk here's been I saw him in the Facebook group. That's not something I'm really familiar with, so sure. I just thought I would ask you.
Yep. So traditionally, what Amazon sellers have been doing for probably the last 10 years are buying UPC codes off of eBay, ones that were never used, basically. So the GS1, they gave them out to whatever companies didn't use them. They ended up in reseller hands. That's actually all of my products on Amazon right now. I've purchased from eBay, and so they're eBay UPC codes. Now, the talk has been that Amazon at some point is going to clean up their catalog. And so they're going to kind of go through, and if that UPC code is not registered to your company, then they could possibly suppress your listing, right? And so, so far, from people that I've talked to, they have not done that yet. They could start it any day. Now, the thing with buying UPC codes from the GS1, it's very expensive. And so, like, if you want 100 codes, I believe it costs $750. And then you have to pay, it's either $150 a year or $300 a year. And so, that gets pretty pricey. That's why most people buy them off of eBay. So to make a long story short, the absolute correct way is to buy them from the GS1. That's the government issued UPC codes. You're going to pay a lot of money, but you're never going to have to worry if Amazon enforces, if they start cleaning up their catalog. You'll never have to worry about your listing getting suppressed. Again, so far, and this is just me, I'm not recommending it. I'm not telling you to do it. All of my products, I buy my UPC codes on eBay, and I'll get, like 1,000 codes for like $10.
Okay, got it. Let's see here. Okay, so we'll go back. I see some other questions. We'll get back to the questions here in a little bit. But Nicole wants to go back into the partnership side of it. Where does that liability fall? What about any liability issues that come from, okay, you have two different businesses working together. If the product doesn't sell, obviously you guys have your own money invested in it. But what happens if it all does sell? What happens if there is something that goes wrong with a product and it kills somebody? Just to go into an extreme. How does that get split? Is it just whoever happens to sell that one? Is it the brand? Where does that fall?
Right. So, what I always tell members of my course, you want to get a LLC, or you want to get an S Corp right away. If you're selling on Amazon and you're just using your social security number, you're not doing it the right way. And so you want to cover yourself. And this is just, even if you're just selling retail, even if you're just doing retail arbitrage, if you have not set up a legal entity yet and are using that, then you need to stop what you're doing and you need to make that a priority in your business.
Yeah, that should take you all of like maybe 3 hours if you went really slow and actually read everything that was on the sheet. I did mine when I started my first LLC. It was on my 19th birthday, and I may or may not have been at college at that point and may or may not had a few drinks. And we ended up timing it. It was like 32 minutes that it took me to get through there, and that was with a few pee breaks and a few other random things. So it's a very easy process. A lot of people make it very complicated. It's actually quite easy.
Yeah, so that's my first advice is you want to set up that LLC, which is going to provide you some protection. Because again, even if you're just selling retail products from Walmart, if the customer, like in your scenario, were to die from it, that lawyer is going to sue you. They're going to sue Amazon. They're going to sue the manufacturer. They'll sue everybody, basically.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just today's society. If you are hurt, they're going to get your money out of them some way or another. It's nothing. You can't really condemn somebody for that, but put the protections in place to make sure you don't.
It's the lawyers. It's Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe.
Very nice. Okay, so another thing that I was talking with you about. Okay, so for anybody that doesn't know, this afternoon I decided to listen to an ebook or a book on tape. I guess it's a book online, but it was actually about the drug cartels and their economic presence in Mexico, Colombia, all those other places. Very strange. I know most people listen to fiction. I listen to drug cartel. It's called Narcocomics. Yeah, whatever it is. But some of the interesting parts of it that I want to relate back to some PL questions that I have for Andy here is they said that the average business has 3 issues. And this goes into the drug world, it goes into regular business, and Amazon's going to fall into the same thing. HR problems, supply chain issues, and finding reliable sources of the products. I think those are your 3 main issues any business is ever going to have. How do you, as a private label seller, make sure that you have strong suppliers, reduce the costs throughout your supply chain, and make sure that your structures are in place that you can replicate the process over and over again?
Right.
So
Yes.
we'll start with the first one. How do you go about, you said you feel like I wouldn't touch Alibaba with a 10-foot pole. I'm at that point, I just, scam factor goes in my head.
Right.
I don't want to be screwed. How do you find reliable sources?
Right. So again, like going back to what I said earlier, that's definitely where I was at 2.5 years ago. It seemed too foreign to me. When I heard the word Alibaba, I thought about like, some sheik riding on a carpet or something. I had no idea what it was, but what I've learned is, and it's getting better and better, basically year over year, it's getting better and better. There are certain filters that you can choose when you're searching on Alibaba that basically verifies that you're dealing with a legitimate manufacturer. And so one of them is like a gold supplier status. And what I say is you want to work with factories or companies that have been gold suppliers for at least 4 years or more. And so that means that manufacturer has been on that site for 4 years. And if they were scam artists, Alibaba would have kicked them off a long time ago.
Okay, so then my next question is, once you find your supplier, manufacturer, do you go and build a relationship with them outside of that transaction? Or because I imagine it's like I do with VAs. I do everything through the platform. But do you have outside conversations other than I want to buy your product, thanks? How does that kind of work?
Yep. And so what I do is I connect with my suppliers on Alibaba. They have a chat function. I don't send email. Emails, like, it's just too archaic and it takes too long. And really who you're talking to is like a person who's maybe right out of college or a college age individual. They're the sales rep for that manufacturer. And so I'll start chatting with her. I transition it to Skype. And so she gives me her Skype name. I give her my Skype name. And then that's how we start communicating. And so, yeah, and it becomes like one of my sales reps that I first started working with 2.5 years ago, she's actually a sourcing agent for me now. So she still works for the company that I order products from, but she sources products for me as well. And so we've built up this 2.5 year relationship where I have total trust for her or with her. In fact, I just sent her $50,000. All right. This is to her personal bank account.
What?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
To her personal bank account. But I trust her. I've worked with her. I know that she's a professional. She's smart. And so she knows that if she handles and takes care of business, then I'm going to keep coming back and she's going to keep making more money. Now, okay. I'm not recommending that everybody do that. And again, this was after having been in a relationship with her for 2.5 years. Yeah, so that president from Nigeria that just emailed me, I should wire that over real quick to make sure I get that. But no, I guess my next question on that end of it, when you go in, do you just buy the product as is, or do you ever make like adjustments or changes or improvements? How does that work? Yep. So there's a couple of things you can do. I saw someone ask a question like, can they get into PL with like $700 to $800? And you absolutely can. What Alibaba is doing now, they're basically trying to become like an Amazon, but connecting direct with manufacturers. So they have a buy button now. A lot of the manufacturers do. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. Where if you're looking at a product and maybe you want to do a test buy. In fact, I just did this a couple of months ago. I test bought 50 units. I used the buy button. So I just hit buy it now. I pay with my credit card and it showed up on my doorstep 3 days later. So this is 50 units a $500 buy, shipped all the way from China, Air Express, at my door. And that was a great way for me to test this product. Now, if it took off, then I would place a larger order. And then I would place the $3,000 or $4,000 order, and I would have my brand placed on that product. But that's a kind of a great way to kind of get into the game, is using that kind of buy button.
Okay, so I'm going to switch gears another time here because now my brain's going off in another direction, and I'm starting to think of different questions with this. In a perfect world, how many different private label products would you have?
So right now I have about 50.
Okay.
I ideally would like to have about 200 to 250. And again, I'm not looking for like killer home run products, other than products that I think I can brand and eventually sell, like this one I was talking about with my partner. But I would love to have 200, 250 products in the range of maybe 10,000 to 30,000. And, you can put that basically in any category, because then they're kind of hidden. It's a little less competitive. And then, when you send them in, it's kind of set on autopilot. You really don't have to think about them. The competition is not like super fierce. The shelf life is a question, right? A lot of people have is, well, how long is your shelf life before competition comes in? I can say this, my best-selling product is still 2.5 years later, is still my best-selling product. Now, that's because I got into that market early, and I've become the leader, right, of this niche. And so it's going to take a lot of work for other sellers to get up to where I'm at. And the price point is $35. So it's a little harder if you're a new seller to try to give away that many units, right, to try to kind of capture those reviews to kind of get where I am.
Okay, so now where do you sit with expanding into international markets? Is that something you have on your radar down the road of, okay, now I have my 50 units, and instead of getting 200 new units, taking those 50 units and going to 4 different marketplaces and expanding that way? Does that fall into your plan? What do you think about the international market expansion?
Yeah, I would love to do that, but to be honest, I only have so much time in a day, and so I just I've not made that a focus. It's kind of bad on me because I don't know if you heard, Amazon just had this big conference in Seattle. It's 500 sellers. You had to be invited to come. I talked to someone who went to the conference, and she said over and over again, Amazon emphasized, if you are not selling internationally, you are behind. They keep saying over and over, you have to sell internationally. That's where the largest growth is, and that's where the largest opportunity is market-wise. And so it is definitely something that I need to get into. I just have to, basically for me, I need to hire somebody.
Now, where does that fall into a possibility of a partnership agreement with somebody in another marketplace? How would that play out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, basically what I could do is folks that are already selling internationally, I could kind of wholesale my product to them, and so maybe just mark it up like $1 a unit.
Okay, I was just curious because I know that you run in, from what I can tell, is you're selling private label products, but you're building the brand. And at what point does the brand being in another marketplace outweigh the product sales that could be taken away by sharing that to another? I don't know. That's kind of that fine line that I'm just kind of curious about.
Right. Well, no, bottom line is if Amazon is telling, these are 500 of the top sellers, right, on Amazon who they're inviting, if they are telling them you need to expand because the opportunity is there, you and I should be following right on their heels.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the same thing we were just talking about when you started with the Amazon Basic. If they're starting to get into generic private label on some items, we shouldn't be going, oh, we need to run away from this. It should be a sign that, hey, there's money to be made. Even the freaking company that's providing the platform is hopping on doing this.
Right.
Here's your sign, you idiot. Do it. I was just curious how that, if that was something on your radar or if it was something that was...
Yeah, no, it's something I would love to do. And probably for me, like you just suggested, the best thing would be, because I just don't want to, maybe I'm getting old, but I don't want to learn that. I don't want to have to learn VAT. I don't want to have to analyze that. But really the best thing for me might be able to partner with another seller, who's looking for products.
And that goes, it was a very weird correlation there. They were talking about that in the drug book today, how they would literally find partners in different parts of the country so they wouldn't have to learn the infrastructure and how to find the people to help mule the drugs around. Because, like you said, VAT tax, I don't like taxes in general, let alone do I want to, I barely know what I'm doing half the time with U.S.-based taxes. Do I want to go mess with an entire new thing that is with VAT tax?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, that's where it's at. Oh, look, my mom's showing up. It's like we're having a webinar and my mom is Dad out there? Oh, he's out there too. So,
well, it's funny. Let's talk about your dad. So your dad, right, has not gotten into private label. We talked a little bit at the Denver conference.
Yeah.
And hi, how you doing? And so he brought a product to me, said, hey, Andy, what do you think about this? And I'm like, winner, winner, chicken dinner.
I know. He was telling me about that. And now, where does that, how's that working out?
Yeah, so he brought it to me, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. So I have a partner I work with in India who I've worked with for like the last year and a half. He sells on Amazon US, but he's a great sourcer in India there. It's where he's at. And so, hey, what's happening?
We're talking about you and the product that you've helped him with. Oh, yeah, don't say what it is. Don't say what it is. He's talking about it, the people from India.
Yeah. And so my partner Safraj is like, oh, yeah, I can source that, no problem. So he went and he found a manufacturer. Now, you'll crack up at this. And this is how Safraj works. Now, they say India is going to become the next China. And so their infrastructure is not there yet, but it is growing leaps and bounds. Their labor rate is still very low. And so he contacts this manufacturer, and I say, all right, great. It's a great price. And then he sends me pictures, right, of this manufacturer who's making this product. And it's a family, okay? And they're making it out of their house. They're like on their, I don't know, dirt driveway, working on these things. And the pictures are just crazy. And so basically this product is like a handmade each one is handmade custom, right, by this Indian family. And so, I mean, that's just how it's done.
That's fascinating. And how are the sales with that? Been good?
You know what? It just landed, and it's actually it should be landing to the prep and pack company, Prime Zero Preps, who I use. It should be landing at their warehouse tomorrow or Wednesday.
Okay, and what's the price point on that one? Is it something that is a little bit higher, or where's that fallen?
Yeah, so I think the price point is between 30 and 35.
Okay, very nice.
The landed price at Amazon will be less than $12.
Oh, that's awesome. So then the one other thing that you mentioned earlier that I want to touch base on, because I know we have like 11 questions there. It's getting close to 9:40, and I took Benadryl about an hour ago, so we'll get through as much as I can here. But you said something about dragons when we started off our chat, and I have no idea what you were talking about. And I could sit here and say, talk about the dragon thing, Andy.
Right.
But could you explain the dragon program, as I'll call it right now,
right. Okay.
and what opportunities that kind of provides overall as private label sellers and or Amazon sellers? How's that kind of all mixed together?
Yeah, so this is kind of on the theme of, do what Amazon's doing. And so, again, you'll see Amazon with their Amazon Basic brand. A lot of people will complain and whine and be like, oh, man, they're going to take over. But like you said, no, you know what? If they're selling something, then that means you and I need to be more creative in our branding and probably sell the same thing, but just be a lot more creative in branding of it. Well, the end game, right, for Amazon is they want to cut out middlemen. So they want all of their products. I mean, just think about like a Nike shoe. The manufacturer, he sells it to somebody. They sell it to somebody else. It ends up at a distributor. Then it goes to a wholesaler. Then it goes to a retailer. I mean, all of those people are getting money in between, right?
Oh, yeah.
As my boys say, they're all getting cheddar, in between.
The average markup per step of the supply chain runs between 10 to 40%.
Absolutely.
So think about it. And if you can eliminate the supply chain down smaller, you can take a bigger cut.
Yep.
But at the end user, so like you and I could source something, go back to cocaine. I know this is sounding very weird, but when they were talking about it, they said the raw leaves, they actually can grow those. They have like every family grows like at least 5 plants. And when they harvest those, the whole like ton of them, very cheap. When the drug cartel actually purchases them, it's like $2 to make a gram of cocaine. It gets on the street in the United States, it's like $180 a gram was the references they were using. And it's all the markup. But I mean, the guy's buying it for $2.
Right.
And by the time it ends up on the street, it's 300,000% markup, whatever that is.
Right.
But what's this, the branding and all of that with it, and the markup and the value add. So it's adding the packaging, it's adding the logistics that are getting it to point A to point B. It's adding the customer service. It's adding everything there. Yeah. And I think that's an advantage. But what's this dragon thing? I'm sorry, I'm getting off track.
No, so what Amazon is doing, they have this program, it's called the Dragon Boat program. They want to connect directly with manufacturers in China to cut out all that middle stuff that you just talked about, right? And so they are pumping, millions and millions of dollars to try to build infrastructure over in China. We've already seen, what they're doing. They have ships, their own like Amazon ships. They got their own Amazon planes. And so they want to be able to connect direct with the manufacturer to bring product over. Now, what is happening in reality, though, okay, is this. Most of the Chinese sellers that people will complain about in the Facebook groups, these aren't manufacturers. These are trading companies, or these are third-party sellers just like you and I. And so, their Dragon Boat program is they want to connect with the manufacturers, but for the most part, manufacturers aren't that advanced. They don't sell their product. They just want to wholesale it, basically. And so, I say all that to say this, that if Amazon is doing it and they're putting all this money right into it, they understand the best margins are always to connect direct to the manufacturer. You and I as Amazon sellers should be doing the same thing. And because of the internet, we have that opportunity. We can connect direct with the manufacturer just like those Chinese sellers are. They're going to the manufacturers, connecting with them. You and I can connect direct with them too. And so really, you and I are competing with these third-party sellers in China or trading companies when we connect direct with those manufacturers.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back, and the conversation's been had many of times. And I think you should really rename all of your stuff to what I'm about to say just for the fun because it's a catchy title. But we look back into the 13th, 14th century, back that far, the Silk Road.
Right.
I mean, that's there. We're seeing the reemergence of that right now. They're building the Silk Road from China to the U.S. to bring those products to the market. And the people who can do it in an efficient manner are the ones who can make money.
Right.
So if it's us, if it's them, whatever. But the second part of that Silk Road was India. I mean, it was China and India that were right there.
Right.
And they have low labor costs. I know that's something not a lot of people like to chat about, but they can manufacture things a lot lower than we can.
Right.
So it gives us a lot more opportunity if we're in an economy that's a little bit more advanced to take advantage of the markups that we can put on products.
Right.
And the fact that a wholesale or a manufacturer is only good at manufacturing.
Yep.
They may hire outside firms or companies to do marketing or sales, but the majority of them are just good at making widget A. Right. And if you tell them you want 2,000 of widget A, they will be the best 2,000 of that widget A you'll get.
Right.
But those people who are taking advantage of it right now, the middlemen, are the ones who go, well, guess what? I know I can go get product A from this person and sell it for a price of widget B here.
Right.
It's arbitrage. That's all it is.
Oh, yeah.
Markup cycles, arbitrage. It's what we do in an online or retail bit. I can buy something cheaper at Walmart and I can sell it for more on Amazon. Yep. That's all private label is.
Right.
In a drilled down base level. Now, there's brand building. There's the whole process of it.
Yep.
But in a drilled down format, it's arbitrage.
Absolutely.
We all understand that, but you have to put it in an international perspective and understand the majority of the supply chain in order to take advantage of it.
Right. So Jeff asked, how do you tell the difference between a manufacturer and a trading company? That's a great question. And to be honest, two things. Either you have to have experience, right, in doing it, or you need somebody with experience in China who can filter if it's a trading company or a manufacturer. And so, that's, again, after doing this for 2.5 years, so I have a sourcing agent in China. And we talk about supply chain. So this is the way I've been able to kind of shore up that supply chain. So I have a sourcer in China here's a real hack. It looks like we just lost Chris. Oh,
no, I'm here. My mom was
here. All right, cool.
So we had to turn it off for a second.
Right. So here's a real cool tip for all 88 viewers that are watching. This is how you tell a real, and you're not going to hear this from anyone anywhere else. All right. This is how you tell a trading company, or one of the ways you can filter out trading company from manufacturers. There is a couple sites you can go to. One is globalsources.com, and you can actually filter between trading companies and manufacturers, right, when you search. So that way you're searching direct for manufacturers. Another one is this. There's a website, all right? It's called 1688.com. Everyone got that? If you're in the chat, you can write that down, 1688.com. This is
okay. What's that?
It is a generally probably 90% of manufacturers in China are on this website, or at least the ones that advertise. It's all in Chinese. And so you have to, if you're on Google or whatever, it'll translate it to English. But what you can do is you can search for a product on Alibaba, and then you go to 1688.com, and then you'll actually see the product and you'll see the real price. Now, the thing is, the product will be in, I forget how they call it. It's YUAN. That's the currency of China.
The yen, right?
Yeah, I guess the yen.
Okay.
And so the product will be in that. So then you're going to have to go to Google to translate that to U.S. currency. But generally, you can see a lot of times trading companies on Alibaba will mark up the product like 30 to sometimes even 50%. So if you're looking on Alibaba, you see it, and then you go to 1688, and you see it's about 30 to 50% less, then you pretty much know you're dealing with the trading company. You're not dealing with the real man.
Because they got to make money somewhere. So if they're doing the markup there, that's where they're generating their money from. So that makes perfect sense.
Right. So that's kind of one way that you can filter it. Hopefully that answers your question, Jeff. But for us, our main way, the way that I do it is I actually have a person in China that I send samples to, and then he takes photos of them. He actually does a video for me. That speeds up the process, and it basically saves me about a week on the process, which is huge when you're trying to launch a new product. And so that's what I do. And then I also have an agent in China who sources for me.
You said that was 1688?
Yeah, 1688.com.
Really? It's a .com. That's fascinating. I didn't know if they had like different back URLs or domain things in China. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's about 9:50. So I don't know if you want to take any other questions here. I think we have about 12 in there. I know there's some more technical ones. So I'll leave that up to you on which ones you want to answer. And
sure. So why don't we can just kind of do rapid fire. So you create a list for the sample 50 units, creating a list.
Listing is my guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm creating a listing, and I'm throwing those puppies up there. I'm getting professional photos done because I want to see if they're going to sell, if there's customer demand for it. How long does it take before your product starts getting organic views and clicks? It depends on your product. These are the top two things that I say look for when you're looking at your private label product. You want to see a good history of BSR, right? So Amazon's like the only website that gives us that number. You guys take advantage of that. Get a good history of BSR. And then here's the second thing. So if you're looking in, we just say any category, and the BSR is under 10,000, and it's been like that for 4 or 5 months. That tells you there's great customer demand. Second thing is this. How many other listings are similar to the product that you're looking at? This is the number one reason, number one fail. This is where people, as my son says, I don't know if you've heard this, like the wrecked. You get wrecked, right? So, if football player tackles somebody hard, they got wrecked, right? That's
nice.
So if you're a seller and you choose a product that's too competitive, has too much competition, you will get, as my son says, wrecked.
Don't buy the stupid meat claws or like grill brushes or anything like that you've probably seen 20 million times. That's an example of something that's highly competitive, and there's really no differentiation that you can put between you and someone else's product, which drives to perfect competition.
Right. And so another question is, how long before your product starts getting organic reviews? Well, if you bring a product to market with less competition, immediately. And so like this, my latest product that sells, the lowest one, it sells for $120. As soon as I listed it, no PPC, no giveaways. We still have not given any giveaways. It immediately started selling. And that's because it's in a niche that is not hyper competitive. So make sure you take that in consideration. As a new seller, what would you recommend as a price point for starting? It all depends on your cash flow and capital. I always recommend, if you got good cash flow and capital, you want to go as high as you can go. Raise that ASP. It's limited. It's less competition. And your product, just like what we talked about, is going to get seen a lot quicker. So you want to go high as you can possibly go. And I really can't answer that question in detail unless you tell me what your cash flow is. How, for example, you wouldn't necessarily have the same brand for automotive product as you would cosmetics. Sorry, there's Lisa A. I'm sorry. We'll have to try to get to that question maybe in FB.
Well, no, I think if we go, if I think I understand one a little bit. So say I'm doing lipstick, and I want to take a laminator to market. Do you create new brands for each of those? Is it a one brand fits all type of thing? Because obviously I wouldn't want to sell smoking hot lipstick if that's my name of my laminator. Right. How does that kind of fall in? Do you build multiple brands, or is it just one brand fits all?
If you have an idea that you have like different products that you want to put under that brand, you want to kind of brand it under that name, and then you would keep it under that. But remember, we're talking about, I have probably 15 listings. I just make up a name, right? Because I'm not building that brand out, or I'm not building this product out. It's a one and done deal. It's like a widget seller. I can make really good money on it now, but I'm not necessarily making a brand. So really the only name is what I call it on that listing, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. So then, Andy, I know that I've got to get going here shortly.
Yeah.
We can answer a few more questions, but I want to stop for a second and go, if someone wants to learn more about private label, wants to get into these weeds that we're getting into with kind of the rapid fire questions, I hear you're doing some free videos. What's going on there? Where can they get all this information? Because a lot of this stuff, I mean, this is one of the more in-depth discussions I've ever heard about private label and or any topic in Amazon, really. Most of the time it's just, here's how you do this, here's how you do that. What do you have out there right now?
Yeah, so actually I just did a 4-part series, and I think we can link it here. You can watch a video that I just made. Chris, hopefully you have that link. You can put it in there.
It's in the chat for everyone.
Awesome. And so you can take a look at that. I have these 4 videos that are coming out. They're basically the 5 phases that you can see through the exact steps that I have taken. As I've built my business, I've sold now over $2 million on Amazon. And I continue to build it, continue to build brands. I've actually just launched 15 products in the last 2 months. And so you can see that. That's going to be the first video, and then we're going to do 3 videos after that. But you know me, Chris, so before I started selling on Amazon, I worked at a residential boarding school. I was basically like a social worker. I love people. That's definitely what my bent is. And so, ever since I got into it, even when I first started selling, I just started interviewing other sellers because I enjoyed talking to people a lot like what you do at different times.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what you find is this has been more enjoyable for me than writing blog posts or doing whatever else. This is just fun. Because not only do I get to meet someone else and get to know him a little bit better, Andy's a great guy. We get to help people out. You get to enjoy it, and it's just fun.
Right, right.
Every course that I do that's free, it's just a blast.
Right.
And I think I'm finally starting to slowly rub off on Andy.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's definitely that's. I often say this: there's no sharing, or I've never been part of a more sharing or caring community than the Amazon seller community.
Oh yeah,
And I've been a part of some really mission-based organizations, but by far the sellers I've met, new sellers, older sellers, have been tremendously sharing and caring with me. So that's really what I love.
awesome. So I want to take just a moment to thank Andy for coming on tonight and actually putting this all together. I know that the invitation went out late. I'm great to see. I think we had up to like 98 people at one point. So I'm great to see that that's actually more well attended than any of the classes I did for a few of my other ones. So this is wonderful to see that. But I'm glad that everybody came on tonight. Thank you, Andy, for putting this together and joining this evening. And I can't wait. I'm going to sign up for the videos a little bit later so I can start watching, because I think this is something that in my portfolio of Amazon products, I like to think of it in kind of a stock market sense. You have your RA, you have your OA, and I'm sitting there thinking that a PL option may be the more long-term investment that's more sustainable. So I think that may be a really good area to start focusing on. So I want to thank you for the education that you do, and thanks for your time this evening.
Hey, can I leave you just one quote? So I just read an article about Bezos, and some of you may have seen this, but he basically said that people were asking him about his company. He said, "Look, folks, this is good because it's baseball season right now." He said, "We're just in the first inning." He said, "We are about to enter into a golden era where technology, right, will meet kind of what our needs and what we can do." And so as an Amazon seller, and especially as a private label seller, I would say that to you. We are just in the first inning. Amazing the opportunities that you and I have to be able to connect with somebody all the way in India, right?
I know.
Who then find a family, and I'll send you the photos as soon as this webinar is over. This family is working right on these products that are good, and it takes 3 weeks, right? That's all it took, 3 weeks, 250 units, right? 3 weeks later, those will be selling on Amazon.com to Amazon shoppers. That's the era that you and I live in, and it's just the first inning.
And that's what I would like to leave everybody with. So thank you guys for coming in. Make sure to go to the chat, get this free video. It's bit.ly/PL course. That'll get you straight to the free training video, so make sure to hop on there. And thank you guys all for coming this evening, and I will see you guys all very soon.
Thanks a lot, Chris, for having me.
See ya.